Reynaldo López gave the Atlanta Braves a great start on Tuesday as they even up the series against the Mets. Ronald Acuña Jr. seems to be getting back on track a little bit. We'll also take a look around the league. Who's off to hot starts? What's going on with all these pitching injuries? We'll discuss all of that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I am your host, Jacob Mastriani. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop of All. Check out the podcast at LockedOn_Braves. Send in any questions, comments, or feedback that you have for the podcast. If you're new and watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. You can also hit that thumbs up button as well to share the show with others so they can join us here at Locked On Braves. Listening on the audio version, thank you so much for your support. Please leave me a 5-star review, whether it be on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get Locked On Braves. Thank you so much for your support of the podcast. If you're an everydayer, let me know down in the comments section below. Always love reading those comments on YouTube, so thank you so much for that. On today's episode, we're going to recap Tuesday's game, a 6-5 win for the Atlanta Braves. Got a little bit too scary there at the end, but they do hold on for the victory to even up the series. Reynaldo López with a good outing. Ronald Acuña Jr. had a good game. Bullpen struggled once again. We'll discuss that. And then on today's episode, we're also going to take a trip around the league. Who's off to hot starts? We'll talk about all these pitching injuries that are happening right now. And then we'll preview Wednesday's game where Allan Winans is going to get the start in replace of Spencer Strider, who is on the injured list. We're still waiting to get more of an update on him later this weekend. But for right now, Allan Winans inserted into the rotation. Well, let's get into Tuesday's matchup, a game where talked about it. Reynaldo López needed to have another good outing. The Braves needed him to have another good outing after dropping game one in this series, a close one there, not knowing what was going to happen on Wednesday. Now, obviously, we do know Winans is starting, but then Max Fried, who's had a bit of a struggle to begin the season. So this series was looking pretty grim there for a minute after Monday's loss and not really knowing how the rest of the rotation was going to play out. You obviously always feel pretty good about their chances with this offense, but it was just big for López to come out, to have another great game, to solidify a spot in the rotation, or at least give the Braves a spot in the rotation that they feel really comfortable with right now. And at the moment, it's really been Chris Sale and López, obviously with the injury to Strider. Max Fried struggling with command a little bit early on. Chris Sale and Reynaldo López have been their two best starters, and López did deliver for the Atlanta Braves on Tuesday. 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 walks, no earned, 6 strikeouts, 94 pitches. And he has been the best starter for the Atlanta Braves through 2 starts of the rotation. 11 whiffs on 45 swings. That's a 24% whiff rate. Nothing really to write home about, but again, it is a Mets lineup that doesn't swing and miss a lot. 92.3 mile per hour average exit velocity. That's not necessarily great. 7 hard hits allowed. That's fine. Fastball average 95.1 miles per hour. That was a tick up from his last start, 0.3 points there. Nothing major. His max velocity was 97.3. That was up again, just another couple ticks from 96.9 last time. So you are seeing the velocity trend up just a little bit start to start. Hopefully that continues to increase. Don't expect him to sit 98, 99 like he did as a reliever. But if he can sit more 95, 96, I think that's going to be highly effective for him. He was sitting more 92, 93, had some 94s in that 6th inning where he gave up 3 hard hit balls. So again, maybe a little bit of an evidence there that things started to tick down as the outing went on, with the velocity dropping a little bit in that last inning. 54 fastballs, 20 sliders, 7 curves, 1 changeup. I thought he threw some good curveballs, especially to left-handed hitters. He was doing a good job kind of working that on the outside and getting a couple of called strikes on it, a couple of good takes, I thought, on some really good pitches on the outside, some really good curveballs, but it was primarily fastball slider again. And that was another one of my questions for López is how does he continue to get through a lineup that has pretty good contact skills a third time? And he was able to do that against the Mets. So that's very encouraging. Overall, it was a really good outing, especially, look, you can't deny the results he's had through 2 starts, But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I think he's an ace top of the rotation pitcher. If you have that in mind, just because of the fact he's given up only 1 earned run in 12 innings to begin the year, I think that's a little too much credit given to him. Again, you look at some of the underlying numbers, not a great swinging strike rate. I mean, 10 to 11, I think it was 9 his first time out, 11 this time out, swinging strikes. Again, that's nothing to really get too excited about. I do worry maybe he had a little bit of luck on his side on Tuesday night with that 92.3 mile per hour average exit velocity against. That's a lot of hard contact there. So I still do have my concerns about Reynaldo López long-term in the rotation. But again, the results through 2 starts have been very, very good. Now for the bullpen on Tuesday after López left the game, things got a little bit too interesting. A 6-0 lead going into the 7th inning with this bullpen. It needs to be smooth sailing to the end of the game, and that just wasn't the case on Tuesday night. Aaron Bummer gave up a couple of singles to lefties, which you don't love to see. He's in there to get lefties out. He gave up 3 hard hit balls in his inning of work. Max also gave up 3 hard hit balls, including a 3-run homer to Alonso that got the Mets back in the game. Jimenez, he only faced 2 batters, and he allowed a hit and a hard hit ball. And then Iglesias comes in the 9th inning. He gives up 3 hard hit balls. He gave up 3 hits, 2 runs that brought the Mets within 1, but was able to get a big strikeout of Pete Alonso to end the game with that really good changeup that he has. In the end, the Mets out hit the Braves. Of course, they had an extra half inning to accomplish that, but it was really a tale of 2 halves in this game. You had the Braves who dominated early on. López was great on the mound. The offense was continually putting on pressure, scoring runs. And then the second half of the game, it was the complete opposite. The Mets bullpen pretty much shut down the Braves for the most part, and their offense went to work against the Braves bullpen. So fortunately, the Braves got just enough done early on that they were able to hold on for the win, but it was really 2 different halves to this game. On the offensive side, look, 6 runs on 11 hits, that's fantastic. And you're going to take that every single night, and I feel like this Braves team can give you that every single night. But it felt like there was a chance to do a lot more in this game to really put it away. And with how things got close late in this one, you wish they would have. They had 2 on in the first with nobody out. Olsen hit a ball 110.2 miles per hour that went right to McNeil, who then flipped it over to second base to double off Ozzie. That was a huge rally killer right there after they'd already scored 1 run. Looked like they were going to hang up a big number in the first inning. That was devastating. They had 6 straight singles to start the third, which is impressive. You love to see an extra base hit in there, but then they had bases loaded, and Arcia grounds into a forced out with the runner being cut down at home, and Travis d'Arnaud grounds into a double play to end that threat there, where you felt like they could have tacked on another run or 2 in that inning. Now, talked about the bad, the good. Riley came through with a clutch 2-out hit in the 5th inning after Ozzie failed to get Ronald in from home with 1 out from third, with 1 out. But in the 6th inning, Riley struck out with the bases loaded and 1 out. And then Olsen grounded out weakly to first on the first pitch of the at-bat. So 6 runs and 11 hits, that is great. That should be enough to win most games. But you love to see this offense just continue to add those tack-on runs, especially with the way rotation is right now. And the bullpen was great over the weekend, but you would love to let them relax. You'd love to be able to have a stress-free into the game and not have to use your best guys every night. And I do think the bullpen will be fine. I'm not worried about it. But there were chances, there were opportunities for this offense to really hang a crooked number in this game and weren't able to do so. They had 12 hard hit balls off of Hauser through 5 innings, but not a single hard hit ball in the last 3 innings that they batted, obviously not batting in the 9th inning there. So again, it was just kind of a tale of 2 halves. Did want to highlight Acuña on the night because we talked about him on Tuesday's podcast, just what's going on with him. How's he going to get it going? Why is he off to a slow start? I didn't really see signs necessarily of him breaking out of that on Tuesday, but it was at least encouraging. You saw him get on base 4 times. So you saw the walks, which haven't been a huge issue, but some of those were close takes that thankfully went his way this time. He's been getting kind of rung up on pitches that are well off the plate early this year, but maybe that is a sign of just better pitch recognition. And no strikeouts in this game. Obviously fantastic. Want to see that trend continue. Got on base 4 times, scored 3 times, stole 3 bases, was a big part of the action on the base pass on Tuesday nights. You love to see that from Ronald. The power will come. You know that's going to be there. But to see him be able to set things up at the top of that order, get on base that many times, get running, stealing some bases, scoring runs, that's really what you want to see from Ronald at the top of that lineup. So hopefully this is something that kind of gets him going. All right, next, I want to take a trip around the league. We'll talk about the standings, what teams are off to a hot start, players off to a hot start, also discuss some of the pitching injuries that are going on right now and just what kind of headache and problems that's causing for Major League Baseball. That seems to be the biggest talk around the league at the moment. We'll discuss all of that here next. Spring training is over. Baseball season is here. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entry. Whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Ohtani, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry. PrizePicks offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, and PrizePicks is really simple to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. With the Major League Baseball season underway, there's going to be stuff to get in on the action every single day. And it really is that simple. Just pick 2 to 6 players or groups of players and decide if you think they'll go more or less on certain stats like hits, first inning, runs allowed. You think the Braves are going to put up a run in the first inning? You can pick more or less on that. And it really is just that simple. So download the app today. Use our code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Are you watching Fox Sports, ESPN on the TV all day long, and you're constantly having to mute it or turn it down because all they keep doing is shouting about nothing? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, on tomorrow's podcast, it'll be later in the day as I'm going to wait to record an episode with Ryan Finkelstein from Locked On Mets as we'll recap that series. And then on Friday, we'll obviously have our mailbag episodes to get your questions ready for that. All right, typically I'll do Around the League on Thursday or whatever day I'm not able to get an interview in for you. But today we're doing it on Wednesday. So let's start with the news, because I think this is what most people are talking about in Major League Baseball right now, and it's all the pitcher injuries. This past week, maybe it's an outlier, and I hope that it is, but we have just seen so many pitchers lost to injury. It started with Yuri Perez, and then Shane Bieber, Spencer Strider. Now we're seeing Framber Valdez and Nick Pivetta. Hopefully those are not as serious, and teams are acting as if it's a little bit minor, but we have just seen so many pitchers. Sandy Alcantara, Shane McClanahan. There are so many others. Ohtani, Jorge Bautista, Orioles closer, are out right now. There's been 38 pitchers who have had elbow reconstruction in the last 13 months from an article on USA Today. In 2021, there were 243 pitcher injuries, 226 in 2022, and 233 in 2023, according to an article from Eno Saris in The Athletic. So pitcher injuries are certainly on the rise, whether it be elbow, whether it be shoulder. We have seen it with the Braves. Ian Anderson, Michael Soroka, he had shoulder issues before all the Achilles stuff that he had going on. We've seen Kyle Wright, the shoulder issues that he's had. I have already given my opinion and take on this, and I talked about it on the postcast as well on Tuesday night. Arms just weren't meant to do this. I just truly believe that arms weren't meant to throw this hard, this long, this many times. And, when I talked about this before, I mainly focused on the velocity, the spin rates. I think that's the reason for the increased amount of injuries we're seeing, but you don't even have to throw hard. You don't even have to throw with huge spin rates. The arm just wasn't meant to pitch. It wasn't meant to throw like this. Now, I think there are things you can do to help alleviate some of the injuries. And like I said, I think they are on the rise. I think there are so many more because of the conditioning that pitchers do basically year round now. I mean, look, pitchers back in the day, they would pitch during the season and then they wouldn't throw again until spring training for the next year. But now we are seeing pitchers in the offseason continually make tweaks. They're in the lab trying to get more spin on the baseball. And as I said before, how do you go back from that? How do you all of a sudden, when you're able to build these pitchers who can get these elite spin rates and lead to big strikeouts, how do you all of a sudden say, okay, we can't do that anymore. Let's go back to the old days where you just throw 92, 93, you work on location. How do you justify doing that? There's no way really to go back from that in my mind. And because of that, I think we're going to continue to see pitcher injuries on the rise like they are right now. And I think there are several factors that play into it, whether it be the velocity, whether it be the taking away the sticky stuff, not the illegal stuff, but taking away the tack that pitchers used to be able to use. The pitch clock, I think maybe has a little bit of a factor in it. I'm not a huge believer that the pitch clock has done that much to pitcher injuries, but it's also just a limited data size right now. But certainly pitcher injuries in general seem to be coming in an alarming rate, and it's hurting the game. I mean, we want to see the best pitchers throw, and we're not able to do that right now. And injuries, I think in general, obviously at this point of the year, guys are getting ramped back up for the season. We see a lot more injuries this time of the season. The White Sox in particular, I feel bad for the White Sox. I live in Birmingham. I watch the Barons, their AA team, a lot. So there's a lot of players there I like to root for. Obviously, they have a lot of former Braves now, so I like to cheer for those guys. They just can't keep players healthy, similar to the Angels or how they can never keep pitchers healthy. The White Sox, Eloy Jimenez is on the IL. Luis Robert is on the IL. Yoan Moncada is about to go on the IL. They just cannot keep their best players healthy over there, and that's been the case for the White Sox for years and years. You had Trevor Story, who was pretty much out for the year now. He had a nasty injury there. Unfortunate event for him as he struggled with injuries over the last several years. So it's not just pitchers. You're seeing a lot of guys get injured. And again, I think it just is the case of, we are, or not me, but the athletes are training themselves to the max potential. And when you do that, I think it's going to lead to more injuries. Now, on the good side of things, the good news, Jackson Holliday is getting called up for the Baltimore Orioles. So that's going to be exciting. Top prospect in baseball is coming up. I, like many other people, thought you had to be up on opening day to be eligible for the prospect incentive to get that extra draft pick, but that's not the case. You just have to have 172 days of service time in that year, so he would still be eligible for that. The Braves wanted to call up A.J. Smith-Shawver, Hurston Waldrop today, leave them on the roster for the rest of the year. They would be eligible for that, but I don't think that's going to happen. Back to some of the bad news or negative news. Julio Urias faces 5 misdemeanor charges. I think he's likely pitched his last game in Major League Baseball. And that got me thinking, what's up with the Ohtani investigation? We've heard almost nothing about the Shohei Ohtani investigation since the season started. Don't know if they're trying to sweep it under the rug. Maybe they just haven't really gotten anywhere. But there has been no update on that since really it came out a couple of weeks ago now. I haven't mentioned it on here, but this is kind of old news. The A's moving to Sacramento for the next few years as they get things ready in Las Vegas. I get into some of the early offensive and pitching leaders. Tyler O'Neill is on fire for the Boston Red Sox. 11 for 32 at the plate, 6 home runs, 488 on-base percentage, and a 1394 OPS, which leads all of baseball. Question for him for years is, can he stay healthy? He's one of those guys. He works out to his max potential, the big arms that he has looking like mine out there. But he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He somehow has 6 home runs and just 6 RBIs, so 6 solo shots for the Red Sox, but he's been really, really good in Boston. Mookie Betts has 16 walks. Judge and Soto are the only other players with double-digit walks, and you look at the tweet going around on social media right now at some of the calls on Mookie Betts, some pitches that are way off the plate. It's kind of incredible that he has 16 walks already. Spencer Steer has 15 RBI and is batting .400. He's off to a great start for the Reds. Another Red with having a good start. Ellie De La Cruz, 4 doubles, 2 home runs, and 6 stolen bases. Still carrying a very high strikeout percentage, but getting it done in other ways. And Ohtani has 8 doubles and 3 home runs for a .650 slugging percentage early on in his Dodgers tenure. Both him and Will Smith have 20 hits already. Obviously, they have 2 more games under their belt, so that helps a little bit. Early pitching leaders, Tyler Anderson, Shane Bieber, Paul Blackburn, Ronel Blanco, Tanner Houck, Marcus Stroman, and Spencer Turnbull have all yet to give up a run through their first 2 starts. Obviously, Bieber's going to be out for the season, so he's going to finish the year not giving up a run. I'd ask the question to you. Any of those guys are sneaky candidates for Cy Young this year? Hard for me to see that. Taylor Anderson, Blackburn, Blanco, Houck, Stroman, and Turnbull. I do like what I've seen from Tanner Houck and the Boston Red Sox. Pitching department over there has some things going on, so that may be the one name out of that group to keep an eye on with Bieber out. Ronel Blanco has only allowed 1 hit in 15 innings. Obviously, he threw that no-hitter, the only complete game thrown so far this year, but just 1 hit allowed in 15 innings. Pretty impressive. Tyler Glasnow, 29 strikeouts and 4 starts. Again, he has the extra start there with him starting early in that Korea series. Struck out 14 on Tuesday night, so he's off to a great start for the Dodgers. Garrett Crochet, who we saw, and Cole Reagans are second in strikeouts with 21 each in 3 starts. Burns, Darvish, Wheeler, and Bieber each have 20. It's interesting. You look at all of these stat leaders, and you don't see a single Brave at the top of the leaderboard, whether that be for strikeouts, obviously with Strider. It hurts a little bit. But even on the offensive side, you don't see a lot of Braves hitters at the top of a lot of categories at the moment. But yet, you look at the team leaders and look at the team leaderboard, and they have the best OPS in all of baseball. They're leading in the top of a lot of the offensive categories. Things can change very quickly this time of year. We saw it with Brandon Nimmo the other day, who came in, with a very low average OPS and pretty much raised it by 100 points or more, at least on the average, in just 1 game. So things are still at the point in the year where numbers can change very quickly. Looking at the standings, the Yankees out to a hot start. They're 10-2. Red Sox are surprisingly good. I mentioned that pitching staff that's been much improved. They're 7-4. The Guardians, Tigers, and Royals are all close at the top of the AL Central. The Twins just 3-6 right now. They came in as the favorites to win that division. The Angels and Rangers are tied atop the AL West. So good to see Wash over there having some success in the AL West. Braves are up in the NL East by 2.5 games. They're the only team over 500. The Pirates lead the NL Central. Every team there is 500 or better, both there in the AL East. Yeah, the big 2 powerhouses, the AL East and the NL Central, just like we all thought it would be. The Dodgers are already starting to pull away a little bit in the NL West. They're up 3.5 games over the Padres. That's the biggest lead in any division so far. And you look at the run differentials right now. The Guardians are plus 34, leading all in baseball. I don't think many people saw that coming. The Braves are second with plus 26 run differential. All right, so that is your trip around the league. Hopefully you enjoy that segment. If you want to see me add some things to that, or you want to see it go away, let me know down in the comments section below. But I had a lot of feedback last year from people who liked that segment, so we'll keep it for now. But next, we'll get into Wednesday's preview, Allan Winans versus Jose Quintana. See if the Braves can go a game up in this series. We'll discuss all of that next. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. That's eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. It is going to be Allan Winans starting for the Atlanta Braves on Wednesday, going up against Jose Quintana. Series evened up at 1 apiece. So both teams hoping to go ahead and take a lead and at least guarantee a split of this 4-game series. Obviously, for the Atlanta Braves, playing at home, this is a series you really want to win against a Mets team that off to a slow start, but their offense seems to be picking it up in this series against the Braves bullpen in particular. Hopefully, Allan Winans can have a good start. He was impressive last year, in my mind, gave up 2 earned or less in 4 of 6 starts that he made last year. He did make 2 starts against the Mets. 1 in New York was fantastic, and at the time, huge. I remember the Braves rotation a little banged up at that point, had just a lot of work, and they really needed that start from Winans, and he delivered. But then 9 days later, back at home, he had a terrible start against the Mets. So hopefully that doesn't repeat itself. He made one start at AAA this year so far, 5 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 1 walk, 1 hit batter, but just 2 earned runs allowed and 5 strikeouts. Last year at AAA, he was maybe the best pitcher in AAA last year. He had a 2.85 ERA, a 1.09 whip, and 126.1 innings with 113 strikeouts. It's changeup, sinker, slider, four seam, all used 20% of the time or more. The changeup and slider both had over 30% whip rates at the major league level last year. But what I really loved about Allan Winans is just the competitive nature that he had while he was out on the mound. Maybe the juices were flowing a little bit more in that first start because he was facing his former team in the Mets who let him go. But just overall from Winans, I thought he did a good job of pitching deep into games, keeping your team in the game. And I just love that competitive edge that he has. Like, it's not overpowering stuff. He's going to have to rely on location, keeping hitters off balance, throwing those 4 pitches and mixing them up. But I do like Allan Winans. Hopefully he's able to give the Braves a quality start here. Again, 5, 6 innings, 2 earned, 3 earned or less. I would take that from him in this game because they're going up against Jose Quintana, who in his first 2 starts, they've been pretty good. 4 2/3 innings, 2 earned on opening day, and then 5 2/3 innings, 1 earned in his next start against the Reds in Cincinnati. So tough place to pitch. Gave up 1 home run in each of his first 2 starts. He has a 2.61 ERA on the season, but a 6.14 expected ERA. So he's kind of played with fire early on, and he's due to get lit up. And what better time to get lit up than against the Atlanta Braves? Last year, he didn't have a single pitch with a whiff rate over 30%. I just mentioned Allan Winans, who had 2 pitches that had a whiff rate over 30%. That changeup is his best swing and miss pitch. He doesn't miss bats. He's walked 6 batters in his first 2 games. Should be another good opportunity for the Atlanta Braves offense to go to work and put up a big number. But this could be a game that turns into the battle of the bullpens. And we still haven't seen a lot of the Mets' best relievers. So I think they're probably better equipped and set up for that. I think Dylan Lee is most likely to pitch a couple of innings in this game, especially if Winans isn't able to go deep. He should be well rested. Joe Jimenez, Pierce Johnson, AJ Minter, and Iglesias should all be available in this game as well. So I think the Braves bullpen will be fine, but it's going to be really up to who wins the early game, I think, in my mind, because there's an opportunity here to get to both of these pitchers for these offenses. I mentioned the Mets offense struggling coming into this series, but they have had a big series and seem to be getting on track. This Braves offense has never really slowed down except for a couple of games they had in some bad weather. So I expect them to put up a big number as well and hopefully lead to a win. And like I said, take the lead in this series. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. So make sure that you check out Locked On Sports today on YouTube and in the free Fire TV channels app. Tomorrow, we will have a discussion with Ryan Finkelstein of Locked On Mets, recapping this series. And then on Friday, we'll have our mailbag episode leading into the weekend. That will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Hit that thumbs up button. Follow us on social media at shortstopball at LockedOn_Braves. Make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast, and we will talk to you next time.